Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm just going to be hanging out and doing some painting. Would love to chat with folks. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm going to be painting up some Cypher Lords. I was going to do some Infinity stuff, but I thought, you know what? Let's finish what I got to work on, and then we'll kind of go from there. So let's go down to the painting camera. I'll turn my light on. Sorry for the blinding light there. Yeah, so I got some, like I said, Cypher Lords. I'm going with a white and blue, and I'm actually going to have a hot pink for the tassels, headdresses, top knots, whatever you want to call them. So, yeah, I guess I'll get to Infinity stuff a little bit later, but for right now, we're just going to work away. So, apologize for not having done a another live stream recently. To be perfectly honest with you, just kind of been in a bummed out place lately, as I'm sure many people can relate to. And I just needed some time to kind of, I don't know, let my brain heal. Chill out for a small bit, you know, get the videos done. I promised my patrons 3 a week, and I was like, you know, I just need some time to just chill. Just be Doug. So I gave myself a reason to, or an excuse, I should say, to just devote myself to Fallout 76 for a couple days, having a great time. I love that game. Yeah. Just been doing a whole lot of that, and then just relaxing. I got notes for next week's videos already done. Feeling good, feeling like myself again. So yeah. What is everyone working on in the chat? Good, just working on my new Space Marines. Sweet. Are they Primaris Marines, or are they new to you, but like the older sculpt of Space Marine? I'm curious. You've got some people like Jack who are super opposed to using old sculpts once a new one comes out. Which, I mean, is just no right or wrong. It's just whatever, it's preference. Hey Doug, did you pick up Underworlds Online? Not yet. Not yet. That game, I am interested to. It's just one of those things that, like, I only sort of remember the rules from when I was trying to play it in person. And so there's a learning curve. I need to, like, set some time and be like, okay, today we are learning how to play this game, and jump back into it. So I'm probably going to try to do that this weekend. Carve out some time to learn it. Because, you know, I want to at least have the basics down before I go live. Just so, you know, nobody likes failing on camera. When it can be avoided. Perfect. Let's see. News, and I just cracked open the box. And news in there, Primaris. Cool. Finally painting up my Warcry terrain. Been playing Gray for too long. Yeah, it's a bear to paint it all, but very, very cool when you do. I've enjoyed playing on it quite a bit. Let's see. Been working on ogres. Cool. Just got the Slaughtermaster, Brutes to Tyrant. That's awesome. Working on Mutants and Masterminds character. I'm not sure what that is. Mutants and Masterminds. Is it a game? Is it a faction from a game? Also got a unit of Dark Angels with the Disintegration Rays for 30k. That's awesome. I will say, I struggle. Like, I have a 40k thing, but I got the Genestealer Colts equally because they work in Necromunda and stuff. But if I was going to go hog wild on the thing, I'd probably go 30k. If I'm honest, just because it's just more like lore based and it's just a different kind of player, you know? I think it's more my style of player. Or community, rather. That's kind of what I should say. It's community, not player. Players individually are their own thing. The thing is, though, man, like, I just can't get into Forge World prices. That'll kill me. Let's see. Love jeans to their cult. Nice, nice. My wife's been happy because it's all getting painted. That's awesome. Davis says I'm beginning no hobbying this week. Packing for my move to Vancouver area. Okay. Yeah, now you can beat Jack and realize that it's not that hard. That we all just let him win all the time. I don't know, man. Don't burst that bubble. Let's see. I'm kind of excited to have all my Warcry warbands like done, you know? Kind of how I felt when I finished the Nurgle stuff, where it's like it's not that individually the units were tough or I didn't enjoy painting them. It just feels good to like complete something, you know? That's kind of where I'm at with them. It's just like, I mean, there are other warbands that I want, but I'm gonna hold off on just until more stuff gets released. Like, I have plenty of warbands for what I want, for my purposes of like playing a game and doing a few battle reports here and there, that kind of thing. But because I do want to get the Slaves to Darkness one, and I would like to make a small Beasts of Chaos one because I like their story arc campaign thing. But that's one of those ones that's probably going to be like a purchase of opportunity. Like, I'm going to wait until I know someone who's like, hey, does anybody need any Beast of Chaos stuff? I don't need a whole starter set. And then I'll swoop in and be like, yo, dog, I'll split that with you. He is basically my plan. Let's see. Yes, great timing. Hey, Spezia. It's a 5-hour trip to go keep an eye on him, so he keeps painting my models. Just cleaning up these little weird fin things they got in their headdresses. Alright. This to me is the least fun part of painting any of these dudes. It's just all the blocking out the base layers. Where it's just like tedious. And then you get to the part where it washes and you're like, yes. Because then from there it's just a few highlights and you're like, done. Feels good. Let's see. I'm 3 Bloodletters and 5 Warriors from having a mixed Khorne 2K army list done. Nice. Sweet. Hello, everybody. I see the chat's filling up. Hi, everybody who's just joining us. Got nothing special going on tonight. I am just sitting and painting. I wasn't going to be painting Infinity because Infinity dropped Code 1, if you're not familiar with that. Basically, they made a simplified version of Infinity, which I'm assuming will be a good entryway into the new 4th edition that they're going into here pretty soon. And it seems pretty cool. It cleaned up a lot of things, simplified a bunch. Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited to play it once, you know, we can all get back to playing stuff. Unfortunately, though, like basically to roll out the game, they started with rules for 4 factions, and no, that's not true. I do own models for one of them. I just don't have them built yet, so I have to do that. But Hackaslam is my main faction, and they don't have rules represented yet, but they've already promised they will. Which is good enough for me. I'm happy to be patient. I know they're a fairly small team, so... Over at Corvus Cabal. Any of you guys play Infinity at all? People who are currently in the chat? I was so bummed when I had to. Well, I dropped out of Adepticon, and then like 2 days later they announced that it was canceled. But I was so bummed because Corvus Cabal was going to be there, supposedly with Code 1, and I was like, oh, I want that so bad, so bad. That was probably the only like specific product I was excited for. Just finished my Tartary Ariadne. Nice. Trying to think what the 4 races were that they, or the factions I should say, that they launched Code 1 with. I know there's the alien ones, the Combined Army, O12, I think Pan-Oceania, and Yujing. So it's an interesting mix. Got some melee stuff in there. You got some more versatile factions. They play a little different. Solid roll call. So yeah. Jack, hey buddy, how you doing? Just found out Davis is moving closer to you so that he can keep an eye on you while you paint all his stuff. Good to know, good to know. But yeah, so I've been doing pretty well. It's kind of, you know, I mean, like many of us, right? The longer this whole outbreak thing goes on, we're just kind of trapped at home, getting a little cabin fever. Miss my friends. But we are hanging in there. The Griggs are a strong, introverted bunch. It's one of those things that like, I can come home and be like, I know that painting will relax me, but I just opt for video games instead because it's easier. And I just wanted to break that cycle a little bit. I know there's some other folks who are like that as well. It's just like, man, this is the death of my hobby is video games. But man, if you're still working and you have to go out in the world, and man, it's just nice to come home and turn your brain off for a bit. But I had a pretty good day today specifically, so I was like, you know what, we can do this. it's kind of strange because like I'm sitting here, right, and I'm like, man, what can we talk about? But there really hasn't been much news, right? I did get my White Dwarf, which I was honestly, it came in the mail and I was super surprised. I was like, oh, I kind of thought they would have, stopped shipping the White Dwarfs, especially because this one, on the off chance that someone listening is a Death Watch player for 40k, all the Death Watch rules are in there. I'm like, oh, that's an important issue. People are going to clamor over that one. Seems weird that they didn't pause. But, whatever. I get it. That issue was probably written up weeks ago, or weeks before all the pandemic stuff. So they're like, oh, we got the magazine. We can sell something. Or at least honor the, what do you call them? Subscriptions. So that one kind of surprised me. But there's some cool stuff in there this time. There is a tiny bit for almost every single game in there. For AOS, they have some cool lore, which I'm going to turn into a video regarding, I believe it's pronounced Volk Mortian, the dude in the casket from the Feast of Bones set for Ossiarch Bone Reapers. About his like personal legion and that kind of stuff. Because I was actually a little surprised in the lore book, or in the battle tome for them, there actually was not a ton of information about him. They're just like, yeah, he's kind of like Nagash's eyes and ears. He's kind of like a spy, almost keeping Catacross on the level and that kind of stuff. But they didn't really go into too much detail. I was like, what does that look like? So I haven't quite read it yet, but I'm excited to. I've been working from home. Most of my Infinity armies are done. Just have Aleph. Aleph is a fun one. I'm actually very excited to do that lore video for Aleph. If you don't know, it's like an AI that governs pretty much most of mankind. And what's funny is like I don't know if it was a translation thing. So a lot of the lore that I come to is based on a few books. I have like the second edition core book, which kind of lists out all the factions and some of their expansions that have like the different like sub factions. They call them sectorials. Lots of cool stuff. But in one of them, then the one that released Aleph, like the actual lore for it as a full standalone faction, because before that it was just kind of this thing that existed lore wise, but you couldn't play it. Kind of like how Adeptus Mechanicus used to be that in 40k. Like it existed, numerous mentions of it, but you couldn't do anything with it for the longest time. Anyway, so it was kind of like that. Well, then you're reading the stuff and they just have no subtlety. They're just like, this thing is all on its own and it has its own agenda and it's doing its own things. And then they must have gotten someone who translated. It's like, that's a little too heavy-handed. Let's reel it in a little bit and kind of pull them back. Because then if you read later stuff, it's like a little more subtle. And I like that. That moment when I'm torn between Doug and Warhammer. Oh my gosh, it is Wednesday. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put anybody in that position. I totally forgot it was Wednesday because COVID has stripped me of my ability to tell time. I'm sorry. Honestly, go check out Warhammer Weekly if you enjoy them, because I'm just going to be chilling and chatting. If there's a topic you want to listen to, go for it. Warhammer Weekly with Vince Vincella and Tom Lyons. I don't know why I forgot his last name there for a hot second, but let's see. Doug, have you played Dark Souls, Megas? No, I have. Well, I watched my roommate play. I got a feel for the controls at one point, but I can't say that I've played it. Mainly because the story arc of it seems wild, and I have to kind of be in the right mindset for it. And then also, it's just, I don't know if it was just media hype when it came out, but all they bragged about was how hard it was. Kind of the same thing with Cuphead. It's so hard, so challenging. It's just I don't like games that are just hard. Honestly, for me, I tend to like games that other people hate, where they're just very grindy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It gives me that weird false sense of productivity, I guess. There's probably some deep-seated mental thing in my brain where it's just like, I need to feel like I did something, and so collecting 50 pieces of this weird glass in Skyrim feels productive to me. So, anyway, all I have to say, no, I haven't. But I'm curious as to why you asked. I saw my roommate's playing it. I love the art aesthetic, that very dark fantasy. That's my jam. Oh, also, a small announcement. In the future, I don't know how many of you all actually care about this, but be doing some Wild West Exodus on the channel. It's going to fit right into our lineup, and I'm excited about that. Let's see. Preach, Doug. Peeps hated Two Worlds, but I love it. Two Worlds. Two Worlds. I've never heard of that one, but that's interesting. You know, I played Fallout 76 when it first came out. And I was like, okay. I kind of struggle with it because I didn't feel like there was a great tutorial. So a lot of the stuff I learned, I had to learn like from, content creators online, which is a slippery slope because many of them are very negative, and so it's about where you're getting your input from. But I like it. And then Wastelanders, if you have not tried it since the latest expansion came out, I can't really call it an expansion. It's a edition, but you're not buying an expansion in the typical sense. But Wastelanders, they add NPCs. I personally think it's fantastic. So it feels like Fallout. I'll give you that. And so a lot of weapon crafting, and I tell you one thing, if you're talking video games, the one thing I feel like they nailed, which I wish more games spent focus on, and this is a good tie-in to miniatures games too, is economy. Okay, so if you played Pokemon when you were a wee lad, you know that pretty much by the 3rd, 8th grader that you beat up, you're pretty much set for money. Like, I can't think of a lot of times in Pokemon games where I was like, gosh dang, I need to save up, I need to have money, I need to have resources to be able to buy things that I need to actually play. And so, unless I gambled it all frivolously at one of the casinos that the game had later on. The point is that Fallout, and actually I think Necromunda, do wonderful jobs with their economy, where there are fat times and lean times, and it doesn't matter what your level is. You're going to encounter both. I think that's important. Right now in Fallout 76, I'm in a lean time. I'm in a time where I am broke. I spent all my money on upgrades, and so now I can use those to go do more resource gathering and get back to the fat times. But the fact of the matter is that it beat the game's main story, right? And that whole time I was just scrounging and that kind of stuff. And I hear people talk about that in Necromunda as well, that it's not just a matter of things are priced efficiently, right? Because it's not just about points. It's about the rewards that you get from completing things. Doesn't put things at too much of an imbalance. You need to constantly buy stuff like upgrade weapons because things get harder, and I don't know, it's a hard one. And I saw the same thing, I've talked about it too when I was playing Mordheim, City of the Damned, which was just a video game adaptation of the existing miniatures game. That like, yeah, I mean, these things they're awesome because there's a constant need to go out and get supplies or go out and get money and put you in a hard decision point where it's like, okay, I could carry this cool weapon that a bad guy dropped, or I could carry this like gold that I found, in a chest, and it's like, but I need the gold. That kind of stuff. Where it really weighs into decision making. And I feel like most games, they just kind of like, once you get to a certain point, like in Skyrim or something, you don't need to make decisions anymore. You're rich enough that you don't have to choose things, like in the real world. Let's see. Nate says, nice. Also, if you get the chance, Frostgrave is a pretty fun little game. I actually just downloaded the rules because they did a freebie event where you can get the rules and one expansion for free if you have a coupon code thing. So I got that. So I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm going to. They sell these large box sets that give you like 40 models for $20. I'll check that out. That's interesting. I know that what's his bucket? Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games. He plays it and he seems to have fun with it. So I would definitely be interested. Two Worlds was this semi-sandbox closer to Oblivion style, but Skyrim leveling. Very, very open world. Cool. I struggle with Oblivion. I don't know why. I just couldn't get it as much as I loved Morrowind, and when I heard they were making another one, I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest day of my life. I loved it so much, and then I started playing it, and then I don't know if it was just the aesthetics or what. I was like, I just couldn't, it didn't feel the same. I think part of it was, if you know the game at all, Elder Scrolls Morrowind, Oblivion didn't feel like a unique world in the same way that Morrowind did, where everything was alien. You have some classic tropes with like different races and that kind of stuff, but like the fauna, like trees and wildlife, it was just all just made up, and it was just out there, and I loved it. Sorry, I'm being a little quiet. It's got some... Apparently these guys are wearing, like, sandals to battle. That's cool. There is the new Skyrim tabletop game. I've actually... Facebook has been blasting me with ads about the new... the Skyrim game, as well as... they made a Fallout version, which I'm sure is how... with all my online activity of watching, Fallout playthroughs and learning about the game and that kind of stuff, I'm sure that's exactly how they were like, oh, this is a nerd who might like Skyrim. And they are right. All I've seen about it, though, and someone correct me, please, if you know more about it, because I literally have only ever seen just the ads. All I see is the Bleak Falls Barrow, which is the first cave that you go into and explore when you're playing Skyrim. Like for the for the main quest, that's one of the big ones. Does the entire game take place inside of that, or is there more to it? Is that pretty much like it's all one big dungeon explore of Bleak Falls Barrow? I don't know. I'll also freely admit, man, I'm so hesitant when it comes to doing miniatures games where the company doesn't own the intellectual property rights to it. I just don't want to get super into a game and have my heart broken when Bethesda's like, actually, we're not going to do that. And they pull the rights or something like that. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm more worried about that when it comes to Disney. So, like, Marvel Crisis Protocols is a superb miniatures game, I've heard. But anymore, I'm just like, I just don't want to have my heart broken. I don't want to become the thing I hate, where I see angry people on fan groups being like, yeah, well, my army got squatted and I hate everybody now, and I'm just going to stay in this group to make people miserable. Not that I really think that I would become that, but you know what I mean. No, it'll be more. That's just a quest. Okay. I can vividly remember Morrowind. Oblivion was sadly forgettable. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, I remember specific missions being incredibly fun. Like, there's one where you have to go into a painting to rescue somebody because he used like a cursed brush, and it literally sucked him into a painting, and the entire map that you get pulled into is like they changed the effects, the visual effects, and so it's like an acrylic or oil painting type thing. I thought that was rad. I was like, oh, this is messing with me. But yeah, I remember specific missions or factions, but not like the main quest. I remember the finale, but I don't remember like why we got there. And I hold that kind of like as a stark contrast to, say, other games like New Vegas is my best example as far as like it was just a compelling story, start to end. It's like yes, 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 yes. Jack says my models. Yes, no, don't want to be the but my models guy when he's like clutching his 40-year-old derp sculpts from the guy's basement that D&D was maybe invented in. I don't know. We'll see. I'm actually kind of curious as to how big they are. Does anyone know how big the Skyrim models are compared to, like, say, GW something? Insert whatever model you want to use as a size reference. I'm curious. I have some Wildest Exodus stuff on order right now, and I'm looking at pictures online, and a lot of their models are a little bit bigger than kind of like standard scale. Like a average person stands about as tall as like a Primaris Space Marine, which I'm excited about because they get bigger. It's easier to get the details and have some fun that way. So I'm excited for that. What I've seen is they're comparable to small-sized D&D Wizards of the Coast models. I don't know if I know of any of those. I don't know if I've ever had a reason to look at D&D models, to be honest with you. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I didn't know D&D had specific models. I bet I'll start caring more about D&D once I had a chance to play, what is it? Soulbound, the new AOS RPG. That's the one I want to try. I'm very excited for it. If you haven't seen it, they're doing quite a few promotions and that kind of stuff over on Cubicle 7. That's about the only one where I'm like, I want to play that. Let's see. Follow up the regular character size for most playable races. Very interesting. No, I don't know. I lost many days of my life to Skyrim, and I still watch some of those like there's a great YouTube channel called Camelworks. If you're ever just bored, I like to play his stuff in the background as I'm like editing videos and that kind of stuff. And basically, he just kind of goes through Skyrim. And he has a series I like called Curating Curious Curiosities, where basically just picks a region of the map and then just walks you through all the little like random things that's so easy to miss, like Skeleton's Chest and trying to piece together stories. I like that kind of stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I don't want to play it enough to like reinstall it on my new computer and like have to start all over again, but I like the setting. It's a cool thing. Hey Doug, just got home from work. What are we working on? This is the Cypher Lords warband from Warcry. And pretty much once I get this layer done, I'm going to... missed his shoulder. I'm going to throw on some washes. And we'll need to wait. Unfortunately. Yeah, lots of blue, lots of gold. I'm actually going to have the head plumes or head dresses, whatever they are, be like a brilliant pink. And my reason for that is I want everything about them to be like, if you know anything about people who do illusionary magic or magic shows, that kind of stuff, it's all about like distraction. And so I want them to have like these loud colors everywhere, to like the idea being they're trying to trick their opponents to looking left and right, and you don't see the dagger coming right at them. Let's see, 1 3/4 inch tall, about 3/5 thick. Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not one of those people who can hear a measurement and just kind of picture it in their head and be like, aha. I gotta see it next to a submarine or something. But I'm interested in it. What company is doing the Skyrim game? Is that Modifius or whatever it is? I can't pronounce it, but. Because I think Atomic Games is Crisis Protocols, or Marvel Crisis Protocols. Out of all the small skirmish games, I think Malifaux has my eyes the most, as I love the models, but I know nothing of the lore, and I dislike the card system, but I can't knock it till I try it. Yeah, I will be honest with you. If there were more engaged players locally, I would be all about Malifaux. Because it does seem right up my alley as well. And I actually, I bought one of their older rule books at a secondhand bookstore, just so I could start doing the lore. And I do want to. Like, you know, I bought it for that exact reason. I just haven't hit the right time where I'm like motivated, you know? Plus, you know, as far as lore goes, they do not have a gap that needs filling for the lore like other games do. For example, if you don't know, Breachside Podcast is dope. It is the official Weird Miniatures podcast about Malifaux, and they set it up like these like 1950s like serial radio dramas with incredible voice actors, and you get to meet pretty much all of the big players in the game. And then they started doing a new series called Chronicles, which I just listened to, so you should definitely go check it out. Called Chronicles, where it's basically like a lore overview, right? It's instead of being in the story told like a serial, they have a woman with a very nice clear voice, because sometimes some of these podcasts that are official, they just don't speak clearly. I don't know why. And she literally goes through the timeline of the entire thing, and you're just like, thank you. Why don't more games do this? I guess I shouldn't ask that, because, you know, then I wouldn't have a channel, but you know what I mean. They just don't need as much. There's definitely like stuff to talk about there, but as far as like games that are like jonesing for coverage, that's not necessarily one of them. Let's see. Yes, Modifi. Between a goblin and a guardsman. Okay. That's tiny. They're tiny dudes. These guys are taller than a guardsman. Let me see. Yeah, no problem, dude. Let's see. Grim miniature game size comparison. Let's see. Looking to see if I can find people who have taken pictures with the size comparison. I'm just not seeing a whole lot. Weirdly enough, there's a lot of videos about comparing the size of Skyrim the game compared to like Morrowind, which is kind of an interesting thing, mapping all that out. No, not seeing anything. Joseph says, "Hey Doug, loved the lore video today. I played the LAC. Oh, awesome! I hope I did it justice. I know that all those videos they don't cover the whole thing because of course Necromunda is a game that's been going on forever. But I hope it was entertaining for you. I'm very interested. So I recently just got my so if you don't know, like Necromunda, they used to do this thing where it's called the gang book, where it's just all of the gangs are in this book. All of the other stuff like Chaos and Gene Stealer cults who are trying to tempt you are in a different book. You kind of have this broken up style where, like, you know, you could buy the core rules and the gang warfare book and boom, you're good to go and you can play no matter what gang you like. Well, they switched to a model a little bit more like 40k where now they're giving the gangs individual books. So like House of Chains, I think what it was the first one to come out for Goliath, and I just got my copy of that, and I like it so far. It's a cool book, but it's a lot to cover. They are an interesting faction. And Goliaths, if you don't know, they're kind of like the meathead, more elite, but like physically super strong. So anyway, that'll take some time to read up and do that one, but overall, I like the idea of it. Anything where, you know, they keep adding more flavor to a faction, I'm down. Let's see. Been waiting for one particular Malifaux boss starter box. I've never. What are you waiting on, Atomic Topher? I didn't know like that they announced them and then didn't put them on the coming soon thing. What faction is that? I'm curious. If I do ever play Malifaux, I know exactly what box I'm getting. I'm getting the. I think the character's name is Mei Fang. Where she like leads a bunch of like revolutionary like. So the thing is kind of set almost like in a Wild West type time. And so if you don't know an American Wild West, we straight up abused Chinese American citizens to build us a massive railroad. And the idea is that she has a gang that's kind of like that, and they revolt against some of the people in charge. So I was like, oh, and her model is just sick looking. She's like bursting forth a bunch of railway track. I don't know, it just looks awesome. That's definitely a model that I pick solely based on looks. I'm just like, yep, that's what I'm playing. Let's see. What's up, Brandon? How you doing, man? What you painting? I'm painting some Cypher Lords for Warcry. Just throwing on a little bit of silver on the weapons, and we'll call them good. I opted not to do contrast for these guys just because I wanted to enjoy them a little bit. Actually, I wasn't expecting to love these models half as much as I did. When I put them together, I kind of stepped back and I was like, gosh dang, these guys look awesome. I don't know. There's just some times, and you all can tell me, actually, this is a great question for the chat. Tell me a model that you looked at online, you're like, I don't know, it's kind of iffy, and then when you saw it in person, you're like, that is rad. This, you know, I've had it before, but this is definitely the most, I don't know, the most strong reaction where I've been like, I wish that I had picked those up first. You know what I mean? Like, way earlier, at least. I still don't like them as much as my Corvus Cabal. Like, I love the Corvus Cabal. There's the bird aesthetic, and everyone's in these awesome poses. And these guys are, too. And I think the more I think about why I like certain sculpts over another, to me, it's all about their poses. I like the very dynamic. These are all in, like, you know, mid-stride going into war. Yeah. Night Haunt everything? Oh, you didn't like them until you saw them in person? I could see that. When they first got, like, previewed, I was like, they look too spindly to enjoy. And then when I saw them in person, I was like, no, they are that spindly, but I enjoy them. They are no less spindly. They are exactly as I imagined they would be, but also really cool. I love your channel, but answer my question, then I will donate to your dang Patreon or whatever it's called. What is Gordrak's clan colors? Basically, what clan is the box art? For Gordrak from the Ironjaws, he technically does not follow a clan, but the box art, the yellow, that's Iron Sons, isn't it? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. But I've also been wrong when I say stuff on the fly before. I don't think I've ever seen you ask that question. Please tell me. What is Gordrak's clan colors? Basically, what is the clan box art? Yeah. Am I wrong? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Iron Suns is what comes to mind, but I might just be jargling words because that's how GW names things. The Spire Tyrants, Jeremy. Oh yeah, for your models you didn't like till you saw them in person. That's a fair one. When the pictures of them look pretty meh, but like not that they're meh. They just don't have the same like crazy out there-ness that some of the other Chaos Warbands do. But the more I think about them, the more like I bet that I would really enjoy them. IE is somewhere in Lustria. I don't get it. If it's informative, I don't know who you're informing, and if it's a joke, I don't get it. All right, so we got that down. What's next? Actually, I saw a few dudes I just need to touch up because I missed the shoulder. It's confusing because some of these guys have like straps going over their shoulder and some don't, so they're easy to miss. You got you. You're okay. Got her. Now you actually read it. I'm sorry, I honestly didn't see you asking before. Now I'm honored about to donate on it. Aren't the Iron Suns yellow and red? Could be way wrong. No, Iron Suns are they're yellow. You got that much right. For the most part, honestly, if you look at their armor on the box art, a lot of it's just yellow with metallics. Like it's like they painted their metal yellow, and then it's just kind of been scratched, beaten, mashed into place where it's like all chipped in, and it has like silveriness to it. I don't recall a secondary color. Someone tell me if you do, but I don't. I'm also not a color expert. Like as far as like what every single thing's scheme is. Cody Griffin, welcome to Battle Line. Thank you so much. That's super kind of you, dude. Let me see. I'm just going to look up their picture real quick here. So it looks like a yellow and black is the Iron Suns. Predominantly yellow, a little bit of black. And just got to clean up some of the stripes of blue there. Don't need much. I think Jack was referencing Old World lore of yours. I remember this place, Lustria. Oh, yeah, I mean, I get that. I just don't know what I got wrong that I was... Anyway. Yes, no. Lustria, reoccurring joke here on the channel. I thought... See, now I'm also conscious. I remember what I thought it was and what I got wrong. I know I thought it was on the wrong continent. And then someone called me out on it, and I, in jest, was like, I don't know. Sounds like a place that doesn't exist anymore to me. It was not necessarily received well. Lustria sounds like a place that got blown up because they couldn't push any models. Mainly because I like antagonizing Jack and his brother. terrible job painting these striped things. Okay. I'll have to touch that up. That'll probably be the last thing I do as I'm touching things up at the end. Let's see. I chose the stream over Warhammer Weekly. Well, I'm flattered, but I promise I'm just sitting here chilling. If you want to hear their discussion, I definitely encourage you to go check it out. I don't know why. I just got home and I was like, you know what? I haven't live streamed in a while. I should do that. And then it just didn't even consider that it's Wednesday because COVID has rendered time meaningless. Basically how I've been feeling lately. Okay. Let's see. Don't worry about it. Old world got blown to smithereens. Thank you. Finished painting a double pack of Corvus Cabal. Sweet. Sweet, sweet. I want to grab one more box so I can have any possible options that I want, but I'm not in a rush for that. Just clap back with you know where Illustria is located. Your memories. Yeah, exactly. Illustria is the friends we met along the way. Brandon says, I've seen the new Giants. I thought, damn cool model, and you can incorporate them into any army. So I'm going to convert it into a shark giant using an anchor as a weapon so I can use it in my Deepkin. Brandon, that is the coolest idea ever. Straight up. Yeah, a giant sea gargant. I'm in. Let's do Screamer Pink. Where are you? Here we go. Yeah, as far as the Sons of Behemoth, let me think about that for a second. So if you don't know, basically, and I think it was the last of the previews they did, the most recent one. Yeah, showed off. It's one kit, I'm assuming, that is a multi-kit, can be built in a few different ways, but you get a couple different kinds of giants, and then looks like the classic ale guzzler Gargant is not going away. He'll be a part of that faction, so that's interesting. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to wait until they come out and see how I feel. And the reason I say that is just kind of been burnt out on painting armies. And obviously the exception to that one is like, but it's depending on how many models it's going to be, you know, how much effort are we talking here? But there are some cool backstories to Sons of Behemoth that I really, really like. So I'm potentially very interested, but I'm just going to see how I'm feeling about hobby stuff when that comes out. I might be knee deep in other skirmish games. I'm like, I got my Maggotkin. I'm ready. Whenever tournaments start back up again, I'm excited to use them. I'm good with that. I think this is what contentment feels like. Of course, I said that before. I said that with my Stormcast. But honestly, anymore, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, you know, we all have seasons in our hobby, in our lives, where we just like doing things and then we stop liking them to things. And for me, cranking out entire armies used to be like a thing that I was super proud that I could do, and now I'm like, I'm kind of tired. Like, I love the army I did. I love my Maggotkin. I still look at them over my shelf. I'm like, dadgum, those guys are cool. But when it came to, like, you know, putting a brush on the Seraphon that I got, I was like, you know, my heart's just not in the big projects right now. I'll come back around. And that's just a matter of painting. That has nothing to do with the game or the setting or anything like that. That's just like getting tired of the big projects where I feel like I have an immense amount of stuff to do. Let's see. Oh, I fell behind the chat here. Give me 1 second. Cody says, huh, I'm an idiot. I have the dang book. Thanks, Doug. I love the old world. Hated AOS for no reason. Bought Fire Slayers instantly. Oh, that's awesome, Cody. That's great. Fire Slayers are a really cool one. Any faction that has like a religious angle, like a motivation to them, I'm all on board. I'm just like, yes. I will listen to them on Friday at work. They make an excellent distraction. You, on the other hand, interact more with the little people, such as myself. Honestly, I am the littlest of people. Not literally, of course. I'm quite a large man, but in terms of importance. Let's see. Doug approves, therefore no price is too high. 1 kit, 3 Gargants. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Release stats for Johan. That'd be amazing. It'd be cool if they did the same thing with Johan, the little guy that's always running in the Gargant kit. They did the same thing with him that they did for... Remember that stupid toad that came with the flying units in Seraphon, where it's like, if this toad token is on the ground, they're angry or they're hungry, and you get bonus attacks against something nearby. That'd be kind of fun to do with Johan. It's like, if the human that they're all trying to eat as a morsel runs towards you looking for help, they get better at killing you. I don't know if I'll go that far, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, actually, because I bet they're anticipating, or at least hoping to anticipate, a lot more Johan models out on the table. But come get me when there's Battle Tome Johan in it, and then we'll talk. They already have giant trees. What more do you need? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, man, when you get to a model size that's that big, you have more options in terms of, like, you know, just going to Home Depot and just finding random objects that, if you have an eye for it, you know, you can make them look to scale. Whereas, like, with the normal, like these guys, like Cypher Lords, whatever it is has to be pretty stinking small. But you have a little bit more options the bigger things get, in terms of, like, finding a real world object and then, you know, being able to, like, hobby model it into looking something, you know, reasonably scaled. Because in high school I did a bit of 40k stuff, and I just used to just, like, meander all around Home Depot or like that and just look at stuff with a different eye, because, you know, it's all terrain. Anything can be terrain. Let's see. Seeing how many people credit you with getting them into the hobby, and Lord, I have to say you're more important. Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you. It's very humbling. Every single time. Let's see. I love my trees, but a giant hitting them with trees for trees. Can't wait for this lockdown to end. Need to get my matches in. Yeah, can't wait to have Bell Grimnir eaten by a giant. I'm curious how much of, like, the giants are dumb thing they're going to carry on. Like, as far as, you know, if you roll a double when you charge or something like that, they fall over. I don't know. Like, and that's a goofy rule. And I love goofy rules. Y'all, if you are a fan of the channel, you know that I love the weird, goofy stuff. The thing is that the goofiness can't also prevent you from having fun. And when a model, like, literally can't charge or, like, do a basic function of the game, that's where you're like, no, he should be able to, like, participate even if he's goofy about it. So We'll see. It's not something that like it bugs me enough that I would like, you know, would dissuade people from ever playing the faction or anything like that. But I definitely prefer it if it was reined in a smidge. If you change it to be like, if you roll double ones, I'd be like, oh, okay, you know. The fact that this could happen is interesting, but it doesn't have to be like... Okay. All right. Speaking of which, I just saw your guys' conversation about me and the Warhammer thing. I gotta find that medal. I put it in a backpack to bring to the last local event I went to up in Bremerton. And I never unpacked it. I should do that. Alright, wash time. Got that for gold. Nope. Where are we at? Looking for my flesh shade. Nope. No, I don't need that. It's alright. Did you know you can use Gellin Flesh Contrast instead of Reclaim Flesh Shade? Basically the same thing. Shake all these up. You and Black Pants Legion are my favorite YouTubers. Interesting. I have never heard of that. Oh, sorry, I saw some comments here. Give me one sec. Your inspiration. Oh, thank you so much. You know, as far as like learning how to set stuff up, it's just YouTube tutorials. I promise I'm not very smart. I keep reminding myself when it comes to learning how to do stuff. I'm like, if a 14-year-old who cusses about my mother can do this, so can I. That's kind of been my main impetus. Is like, I will not be outdone by some loser on a Xbox group screaming. Alright. Bloodletter's done. Just a minimum sizing of warriors. Oh, that's awesome, dude. I'm happy for you. Feels good when you start cranking out that progress. Question for you, Cold Shoulder. What is Black Pants Legion? What is his channel about? I'm curious. I'm curious if, like, your interests are just like straight from like Warhammer to like men's fashion. And that's it. There's just nothing in between. Just like boom, Black Pants. I also hear Legion and I think of the game Legion, the Star Wars Legion. Which is another one of those games that I haven't tried, but I kind of want to. I've seen several people playing it locally, so I know it's not like You know, one of those games you see on the shelf and you're like, that seems cool, but then like nobody ever plays it. And you're like, don't know why. Is a BattleTech. Oh, okay. A Let's Play YouTuber who does it for fun. That's awesome. Helps him get over PTSD. I bet you like your quote. I get questions. So understand this is gonna make me sound like a complete dick. So brace yourself. I get questions from people like, can you give me a few tips? Like, how do you do X, Y, Z, that kind of stuff? And I love helping people, like, especially pointing them towards like a film editor or a video editor. Like I use Wondershare Filmora. I love it. Super easy to use. Rock and roll. It's just like when folks ask me like 10 million questions, and ultimately I always come to the same point where it's just like at a certain point, you just got to make a video, dude. Like you can't ask questions into having content. You have to actually like stop what you're doing and just make something, and then you can improve from there. And that's the hardest thing to try to convey to people is like, man, you just got to do. And that, some folks, that's just not enough. Like, okay, well, I'll do it if I have enough information. Well, I'll do it if I have the answers to this. It's like, it's hard to be like, man, you won't. You won't because you haven't yet. And it's just like that weird, I don't know. That kind of like, because it almost feels aggressive, but it is the truth. You want to learn to do something, you do it. But it sucks when people feel like they brush you off. Or they feel like I'm brushing them off. I played Legion. Solid game. Okay, cool. I hear. I haven't really heard anything about it, but the models look awesome. Like they look very crisp, clean looking, well put together. Let's see. What time is it? Oh, we got time. I guess, man, when it comes to like what I like in a game, as far because we're talking about like Legion and what I see gets me excited and that kind of stuff. Like, what is it do you see in a miniatures game that gets you kind of excited to just jump into it? For me, it's definitely if the rules are too intense, like if there's like 50 D66 charts or whatever like that, I'm like, I don't want to learn this. It just immediately seems too complicated. So it's got to have a system where it's like easy to learn, difficult to master type thing. For me personally, I know some folks, they love the complexity. They love having all the little options and the different abilities and levers you can pull and that kind of stuff. And for me, it's just like, if I can't learn this in like an hour, and that's like a solid, that's a solid time for a demo. You show up, you kind of walk through a few things, make sure, they know what a model is because you never quite know. But if at the end of that, they can't, like, you can't easily tell how to play the game, like, nah. Because that's how they got me hooked on War Machine Hordes back in the day. That's my first miniature game. I walked up, I was like, what's this? And the guys pulled out his demo set, and he's like, let me show you. And like an hour 15 later, I had played a full game after the demo. I was like, this is why they win. And then they went ahead and absolutely nuked that entire ease of in over at Privateer, but for the time, it was there. Hey Doug, was wondering if you sometimes craft your own terrain for AOS. I have not yet, simply because it's just not like if I had a garage, I think I'd be more interested in it, like Shu does over at Ruling Ones. But you know, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment just outside Seattle. Well, it's in Bothell, Seattle, but you know what I mean. In terms of like relative to what people know, I don't know. No, never got around to it. I did when I lived in Iowa. I don't know if they're still up there. I'm actually kind of curious now. Had a few tutorials on random stuff on Instructables, but that's about it. Oops. Cold Shoulder, we should just do it. If the reason I like Black Pants Legion is because he doesn't actually do a lot of editing, and he doesn't care about being monetized outside of his BattleTech lore videos. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I have learned is that the planet Earth and the internet that connects it is so vast that there is somebody who wants to watch whatever you make. I can't promise you that there's enough for like a full-time income, but I can promise you there's somebody. I remember my favorite moment when I'll call it my worldview got opened was at one point someone left a comment on a Seraphon lore video, and it was this very strange discussion that they had pretty much just with themselves, because it was just a comment, right? It wasn't a back and forth. But they are like going into the origins of Seraphon, meaning they were like, oh, well, this actually is based on the word seraphim, which is a choir of angel. And I went to this very like, I'm going to call it extra biblical thesis in a comment. And I was like, that's weird. And then I looked at their channel, right? Because, you know, if you have an account, it'll just make a channel for you. Even if there's no content on it. But they did sermons, I'm assuming Christian based, on the life lessons taught by My Little Pony. It was bronies who have a channel that's about a church of bronyhood, and it was incredibly interesting. The whole point that I'm trying to make is that like my mind slowly opened to like, these kinds of people exist. I mean, good on them. Do whatever you love, what makes you happy, and stay safe, and everything's consensual. Don't care. You do you. But I just had no idea those people exist. And he was like, cool. All that to say, I'm sure there's someone who would love to hang out with you and just talk. Brennan, have a good night, my friend. We won all day. My first game was War Machine. Faced a Titan. Somehow won with luck against a very intense, angry guy. He screamed at me. That was my first and last game. Got a 40k. And no one screamed at you in 40k? That's interesting. I definitely... He made it very clear that he wasn't mad at me, but... yeah, I had the same thing happen at War Machine where, like... Yeah, what's an example in AOS? Like, disgustingly resilient, right? You roll a die and a 5-up, you're totally fine. They have a similar rule in War Machine and Hordes, and whatever I was playing had that ability, and I could not roll anything but a 5 or a 6. Like, I was killing it. My guys just will not die. And the guy who was teaching me the game, who was definitely a press ganger, which is like their volunteer team of folks who give demos and stuff, he was having an emotional reaction. We'll just put it kindly like that. He was not doing so hot. I knew him a little bit more by that time, but I told him afterwards, like, dude, if I was new, I'd have walked out of this store and written you and your hobby off. Because it was like, that was a poor showing. I'm just gonna leave it there. Gonna let you cool off. Go next door, grab a pizza, live, laugh, love. He's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just mad because, like, statistically they should be dead. I'm like, bro, this is a dice game, man. Statistics need not apply, yo. Let's see. Noah says, hey Doug, just finished my 3,000 point all squig army. Looking forward to a new... Oh, that's awesome, dude. Congrats. The Chaos Gods of Bronies. There are all kinds of people out there. I've always found it fascinating how different and unique each person is. Hey friends. Hey Sean. Yeah, no, it's true. You know, I mean, and I've seen some weird folks in my time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna brag. But, like, you know, I lived a lot of places, met a lot of strange folk. That one just really took me by surprise, especially because, like, it's easy when you're in these, like, smaller niches, you know, like the specific game, Age of Sigmar, that kind of stuff. And it's a specific faction within a specific game. It's just strange that, like, it caught me off guard. Not that it is strange, but it caught me off guard to have someone who's coming from a completely different angle, and it was just like, yeah, this is my sermon. You know, it's just what they wanted to present. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, Google Analytics, how can I tell how many of my fan base are bronies? Is this a market that I just didn't even know existed? Am I going to become 2+ brony to be able to do this full time? Spoiler, I'm not. Let's see. Time to make my last round. 2 more hours and the shift is over. Looking forward to seeing my bed. Take it easy, friend. With a guy running a newbie tournament, and yes, plenty of people have gotten upset in all Warhammer games. Spezia, 2+. One does not tempt such recesses of the internet so lightly. Okay, so small niches that I respect, that people are into it, that I am not. But I have been lately met an immense amount of people in the furry community, which you're just like, it's a thing that I don't get, but more power to you. So you're talking about tempting those niches. It's like, they're coming to me, pal. I ain't going to them. In the grim darkness of the future, there is only bronies. That's right. Okay. Have you tried Tabletop Simulator yet? No, I have not. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really have a lot of interest in it. We talked about it, I think, the last time I did a stream. I had Greg on and Jack. We were chatting about, like, for me, hanging out, painting and hanging out with the people across the table is so much a part of the hobby that I don't enjoy Warhammer without it. Like, I think the way I said it, and I think someone kind of took it a little bit too seriously, where I said, like, you know, Warhammer is a fantastic hobby. It's a terrible game. And it's not actually terrible. It's just, if you want to have fun, there are just board games that give you a much more fluent experience, and our rules are maybe a little more cohesive, and, you know, there's just other ways to go. Let's see. Niches get stitches, so you don't have a fursona. I don't. How does one choose that? Like, does the animal choose you, or do you choose the animal? Follow-up question, does it have to be an actual animal? These are the questions that, like, if I could speak to someone straight up who was a part of that community, I have so many questions. Just like I had questions for people in this community when I first started joining in. How important is painting? Do you have to paint the things just like they say? You know, all the newbie stuff that you see and everywhere online. They're like, yeah, dude, this guy's excited. I'm excited for him. This is all new to him. It's nice. If you've never seen the Bob's Burgers episode when he becomes a brony to help his daughter out with something, it is pretty magical. Like, I love it. I have found in life, and this is a pro tip for any of you, if anyone tells you that they're a part of like a hobby or a niche community or something like that, you never go, oh, you never show any kind of negative reaction. You just go, tell me about that. What draws you to that? And you can learn a lot about people. I mean, in a good way. It's a very good way. Let's see. Depends on what you ask. And no. I can get off that subject if people don't want to chat about it. I'm definitely not making fun. Let's see. It doesn't. You can have a dragon persona. Interesting. Okay, and so from here on out, it's just highlights. Well, once I get the glow effect paint. My 3-year-old demands my attention before I got out. Is there any army you can't stand in AOS? Like, playing against them is terrible. The only army that I didn't enjoy playing, and I haven't seen it in a long time, is like a very infantry-heavy Legions of Nagash, where they just plop a bunch of skeletons and just nothing happens, right? They're like unkillable, and they don't really kill much because they're skeletons, and the table just sits there and doesn't move. They sit on an objective and they just don't die because it's so non-interactive that it's just not fun. That'll be my answer. Because, you know, if you bring some broken BS list, that's fine because you'll probably table me really quickly. I'm not a great player. But then we can like hang out and get a beer or something. But when you make me grind 2 hours and 45 minutes of time, I'm just like, I'm done with you, dude. That's probably the closest thing I got to an answer for you. Hope it satisfies, and I hope your kid does well. Just went on a weird tangent. Yeah, I know. I'll stop the brony chat or the for whatever we're talking about. We'll never understand Rage Burns, but they are hurting anyone. Joseph, that's exactly my thought. Life's too short. Just be cool to each other. When it comes to any interest, I'm like, is it consensual? Is it hurting anyone? No, none of my business. Do whatever you want. As you were. Let's see. I have a Tomb King's army. I think Tomb Kings will ever come back. Or are Ossiarch Bone Reapers the homage to them? I think the latter. I don't see them coming back. Certainly if they came back, they would have most likely an entire new model range, because that's what GW sells. Yeah. I don't have a better answer for you. I will tell you, though, that I went to a tournament. Oh, it was actually, it was with Jack. We did the doubles event at Nova last year. And one of the players had a Tomb King's army, and that guy kicked my teeth in. because chariots are no joke in that army. So yeah, you got that. What up, Doug? Hey, how you doing, man? Or lady, I don't know. I can't quite tell from your name. But hello, welcome. We are just hanging and painting. Got some flesh there. But yeah, I definitely don't think that Tomb Kings in their old carnation, I should say that, are coming back. It seems like whenever they discontinue a line, they tend to mean it anymore. And this is the not fun part where you're just going through and picking out some of the details in between these straps they have on their arms. Mainly because it's just tedious. All right. What is FEC? Flesh Eater Quartz. So it's kind of a joke, but also maybe not. We don't really know. So Bretonia was taken away when they made the switch to AOS. But then, with one of the first armies they released, Flesh Eater Quartz, a lot of the wording and the verbiage and the names of things are all reminiscent, highly reminiscent, one would say, of Bretonian stuff. So like they have the Chalice of Usharan and all these kinds of things, which are all names and references to Bretonians of old. It's kind of become the 40K has its jokes about, like, you know, Alpha Legion is everywhere, and Dark Angels are always traitors, that kind of stuff. It's become that for AOS, where it's like, well, Bretonians play Flesh Eater Quartz. Well, it's not the same thing. You know what I mean. But it isn't my Grail boys. Yep. I remember loving their aesthetic back in the day. And then I don't know. I mean, I didn't play Fantasy Battles at its peak. Alan, I've only ever heard of a few people who really liked Bretonians, but all the ones that I know of, they were like super into them. That sword makes him so awkward to paint. Yeah, looks alright. Let's see. You missed nothing. I've heard that. Like I joined up in the waning days the last couple months that it was around, but I mean I remember having fun because the local guys here were fun. It was an interesting set of events. So I saw a local 8th edition tournament going down at a new game store that had just opened up. And I was like, that looks so cool. I want to jump on board. Immediately picked up the Island of Blood set. And it turns out that that event was being run by a couple of guys in the Pacific Northwest who ran, I should say, a Fantasy Battles podcast called the Dimensional Cascade Crew. And it was an interesting thing because, like, I got into the game, started playing a bit, was having fun, met a few people, had a good time. Fantasy Battles was a tough one to learn because there were so many like special rules and that kind of stuff. But I was working away at it, and then I actually met the crew from Dimensional Cascade, and I was like, hey guys, I just wanted to thank you. Like, you really got me into the game, and I'm having a lot of fun. It's very relaxing for me. And I know as an adult that it was just they're different kinds of people and they communicate differently, but they very much just brushed me off. And I was like, I am never going to talk to people like that. And that's why I try very hard when it comes to the YouTube stuff to, like, if you reach out to me online or you find me at a convention that I'm at, like, I just want to give you my full undivided attention, at least a little bit. Make you feel like, if someone says thank you to me, like, it means something. Sort of a never meet your heroes moment, I guess is what they call that. Will Grimgor Ironhide come back? I doubt it. I think the closest thing you're going to get to him is Gordrak from the Ironjaw's line. But again, I don't know. I don't know anything that goes on in GW. Sounds pretty typical for my interactions. It was weird. It's strange. I was thinking about this the other day, like how hard it is to get into a game. And this is what I mean, where it's like, not only does the game have to be appealing to you, right? I mean, like, you have to like the aesthetics of it. No one's ever, like, picked up this incredibly expensive hobby without, at first being like, that looks cool. To something. So there's that. But at the same time, it's not just a matter of the game, but it's how the local people play it and present it. Because, like, I was head over heels in love with War Machine Hordes in Iowa. Because I had a fantastic group of friends over there. They were playing it regularly. Emphasis on painting. Then I moved out here, which should be, you know, Privateer Press Mecca, because they're like 12 miles from my house. Nobody paints models. Nobody cares about the hobby stuff. It's all tournaments. It's all winning. I was like, nope, never mind, not for me. And then there's other games where, like Bolt Action, if you don't know, it's a historical World War II game. I find incredibly fascinating. I actually love their turn priority mechanic. Very, very interesting design. And I think it's really neat and really special. The problem was that when it started to catch here a little bit, but it was mainly taken over by guys who were really frustrated with the last edition of 40K and were looking for a more competitive game that was a little bit simpler, a little bit cleaner, and less clunky. And it's like, nah, dude, this is a historical game where it's not nearly as much about balance. They do a good job of, like, trying to address issues if they have a rules mistake or, you know, clarifying stuff, but it's not built to be a tournament game. It's a narrative-focused game, like, pretty much from the ground up. When you get a historical game, that's kind of what you're doing. So that didn't pan out super well for him. And then everybody lost interest, and then there's like nobody to find a game with. You're like, well, all right. See you later, Clint. Who will the next Infinity faction be? Asking for a friend. The next Infinity faction. I have no idea. Corvus Belly tells me less than GW does, and GW doesn't tell me anything. And I don't know. They're an interesting company, because, like, if you think about how most game companies have, like, an official blog and that kind of thing, Corvus Belly kind of releases information in really random ways. Like, there might be an update on their channel, on their website, I mean, and then sometimes it won't be on the website, but it'll be on their YouTube channel, and then sometimes it'll be released on, like, a game review site, and you're just like, how can we track this stuff? We don't know, no idea what's going on. So, answer your question, I have no clue. Oh, what's the next Infinity faction video? Nomads on Friday. Yep, it's already made and scheduled, ready to go. Nomads are an interesting one, for sure. Just like their Infinity, just like their flow of rules clarifications. Yeah, I don't know. Have you read the new Code 1 rules that just came out? They came out yesterday or the day before, or something like that. At least that's when I got an email about it. I assume they sent that when they released them, but it helps. It helps immensely. They made the same mistake that many Necromunda rules had back in the day, and I think there's still some now, where they put a special rule inside of a special rule. So it's like, if your unit has camouflage, they also gain stealth and infiltrate, and you know what I mean, where it's like, okay, well, now we have to go look up those freaking rules. But you just wanted to make one universal special rule that contains all those things, rather than just saying it has stealth and camouflage and all these kinds of things. So it's a mess. It has gotten better, though. I'll pick my 3-year-old, watch a solo game of Flesh Eater Courts versus Fire Slayers. When is the next hobby hangout? Don't want to miss it. I will post it on social media, and I'll put it on the community tab on this page, so it should show up as a little notification for you. I don't have an exact time. I'm going to try to do one on Friday in the afternoon, but that's about all I got. I actually didn't even mean to do one tonight when it was Warhammer Weekly, but once I started, I felt stupid to turn it off if I'm still going to just be sitting here talking to myself and painting. Okay. Yep, that's the basic way of Infinity. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't think that one too far ahead, but I gotta say, with the Code 1 stuff, it looks good. It looks a lot more cleaned up. No Russian doll of rules. Oh my gosh, this is taking so long to get these guys done. I say that, I mean, it's not. I got this much done pretty much in one painting session, but the skin stuff is super tedious. They have all these little straps and bells and whistles all over them. Let's see. Check out Doug's Iron Jaws week. Oh, yeah. Catch you next time, friend. See you, Cody. Could Snarsnick come back in AOS and restart three-way between Skaven, Greenskins, and Dwarves? Well, so here's my official stance on anything coming back from the old world. Because you've asked a few different characters, so I'll just kind of blanket statement this. I'm not going to say no, because I'm not part of their team, and I don't know what they have planned, but I would certainly not count on it. It seems like they, with the exception of a few characters that are meant to be, I want to call it fan service, like Gotrek and that kind of stuff, looking to head their own direction, and new direction with their intellectual property and stuff. I was never a huge fan of bringing old world characters in. I mean, the exception being the gods themselves, because at the end times they all became, better versions of themselves and kind of escalated their mortality. But as far as like just random characters, I don't know. I'd have to see it. Gotrek was certainly an unexpected one. Let's see. Which is, I mean, man, some of those grudges, I don't know the best way to say it, but those like rivalries, there we go, that they wrote are so epic that like you want to know how they concluded in a more reasonable way than the end times gave us, because they definitely did speed through some of those last dying gasps of the old world. But I don't know, huge wad of water on the brush, there we go. But I don't know. I'd be curious, rather than bringing them into AOS if they're going to save them for what do they call them? The like War in the Old World or something like that, where they showed a preview. Well, not a preview. There's no previews for it, but they talked about starting a new game in the Old World setting. But we have absolutely zero details as to what that'll actually look like. So I'm kind of hesitant to bring it in as a possibility. There we go. Skin's done. Megan says, I looked over your videos, and I think the closest Gene Stealer called is Zinch. Yep. Lore-wise, they certainly are. Tabletop-wise, they don't play like that, which is honestly the biggest disappointment to me when it comes to the Zinch stuff. Is I wish they had really leaned into the surprise, you know, and they just pop out of nowhere and attack. Yeah, like they did. This didn't. It's fine. It's just weird to me that they spent so much of their book talking about it like they did. These objectives going to be for your Warcry campaign because they're looking phenomenal. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got some. I'll take some pictures here and throw them on my Instagram. So I got objectives, a few of them anyway. Here's my flying rock. He's basically just dry brushed. I put more work into the treasure chest because they can work across different games. I made them all fit on these like nice 40 mil bases. And so yeah, I can use them in Wild West Exodus or anything like that. So Warcry, and there's these guys, which I mean, again, they're just very, very simple. Just kind of wanted to get them done. It was kind of a good week of like just cranking out the last little bits of projects. Like this warband right here is the last of my Warcry stuff. I have a box of Untamed Beasts, but I'm probably going to return them. I just don't need the extra set. So, but that's it. And then I can say that I am completely done with these. And then I was kind of thinking I might move on to, what do you call them? My Necromunda stuff and kind of crank out some of those guys as well. So I think the other parts, the wash is still drying. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call it here for the night, friends. But I'll go ahead. I'll get hopefully some pictures of this stuff once I get the Cypher Lords done. I'll throw it up all online for you, and we can all, I don't know, I can thank you for hanging out with me while I got them done. And I hope to see you all Friday. I think I'm going to do a live stream, probably around 10 or 11 or so on my time, Pacific Standard Time. And stay safe out there until then, and I will talk to you all very, very soon, friends. Have a wonderful night and happy wargaming.